It is hard to overstate exactly how important Fidel Castro was to Cubans. Whether he was their beloved revolutionary hero and liberator, or if they saw him as a despot and tyrant, the name Castro has been an intrinsic part of their lives for decades. So adapting to the news that the 90-year-old Fidel Castro, latterly more likely to be seen in tracksuits than olive green fatigues, was gone has been difficult to digest for some. A group of students appeared outside the law faculty he studied in the 1950s, carrying Cuban flags, pictures of Fidel and holding up revolutionary slogans. Many were in tears, genuinely moved by the loss of a man they consider to have freed their country from Washington's grasp. Elsewhere in Havana, people were more muted, perhaps a little quieter and more reflective as they sought out the state-run newspaper or paid for a little internet access. By next week, they will begin to file past the urn of Castro's ashes before it is taken to Santiago in eastern Cuba and laid to rest there. Will Grant, BBC News, Havana.
Just 90 miles away in Miami, a very different picture. Generations of Cuban exiles have hoped for this moment, fervently believing that their dream of a free Cuba has now got a step closer.
This is a dictator that has hurt the lives of at least 4 generations of Cuba, inside and outside the island. There are families that have been divided. There are people who have relatives that have been shot, people whose relatives have been in jail for many years. So most of the wounds have not healed yet.
The president-elect Donald Trump did not mince his words over Fidel Castro's death. In a statement, he called him a brutal dictator. Though in a sign that he may be open to talking, he said, "Our administration will do all it can to ensure the Cuban people can finally begin their journey toward prosperity and liberty." This is a moment which Miami's Cuban community will not forget, but many will expect the new president, Donald Trump, to take a hard line with Cuba's current leader, Raul Castro. And some want the talking to continue.
Start the dialogue again with the Cuban government. But these times, no concessions. They have to be something for us in order for us to give something to them.
He should completely dismantle the Cuban regime, completely, before we actually do any business putting any U.S. tax dollars into that country.
Oh boy. I don't think he should do anything. I think what President Obama did was fine, and just leave things as is.
They may be in mourning in Havana, but here in Miami, Cuban exiles are still celebrating the passing of a man they call a tyrant. But after the partying is over, the big questions remain. For example, will Donald Trump continue to relax restrictions? Will Congress let him? And will Raul Castro begin any kind of process of political reform? Gary O'Donoghue, BBC News, Miami, Florida.